Welcome into another edition of House of Horns. We are here. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated and MQB. Gilbert, the Rams roller coaster of a season continues. They're back at 500 now. Their playoff hopes are still alive. They're at 6-6. They defeat the New Orleans Saints 21-14. Gilbert, just give me your quick takeaways here. You got to go watch this Sunday night game, but
Yeah.
good win for the Rams here, I thought.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the patience here, the viewers and listeners of House of Horns. You guys are very supportive. But yeah, I type very slow, Dan. I'll say this. I am slow, but I like to be perfect, like a perfect edit. When my editor gets my story, no typos, no grammatical errors, no misspelled names. That's where I pride myself. So I am slow, but I usually get it right. I'm gonna say like 98% of the time. But yeah, I didn't expect Buccaneers Panthers to be a game I will write about or a game that I will care about until 5 p.m. Pacific time and went in overtime. So after Bryce Young threw that touchdown pass, I said, you know what, I'm gonna write good things about this kid right here. He's been through the ringer. But we're not here to talk about Panthers Buccaneers. We're here to talk about the Rams' victory against the New Orleans Saints, and it was ugly, a little maybe dull at times, but you had to win that game to keep your playoff hopes alive. You escaped New Orleans with a victory. New Orleans, the Super Bowl site of LIX, I guess 659. There you go, right? I keep forgetting.
Hmm.
Super Bowl 59. But you had to get that victory. You're 6-6 now. This team feels like a mediocre team, but hey, that NFC West, man, it keeps you dreaming, keeping hopes alive. And yeah, we're gonna watch that 49ers game later, I guess right now. 49ers, Buffalo Bills to see how that plays out. But the Cardinals lost. They're 6-6. The Seahawks unfortunately won if you're a supporter of the Rams here. But hey, only one game behind, and the Rams did beat Seattle in Seattle.
Yeah, and I mean they almost got help there from the Jets, but unfortunately they couldn't, hold on to the win there. And the Seahawks played pretty good against the Jets there. But yeah, as you said, things are setting up well here for the division for the Rams. And just going off this game, Gilbert, the Rams start off slow once again. That's been their bugaboo all season long. They only got 3 plays for 4 yards in the first quarter. That's it. The Saints control the most of that first quarter. They got a field goal, then missed a second field goal that would have put them up 6-0. But I just thought the way they played in the second half, it's kind of been, what this team has been about. And I thought one of the things that I got to give credit here to Sean McVay is that he made the adjustments in the second half, and that's what allowed them to pull out this victory. And then, as someone here pointed out, and I thought that was really well done, was the fact that Willie Bowen here says, "I'm glad that the LA Rams didn't settle on field goals for that victory," and he was very aggressive in terms of he knows what he has right now. He knows that he needs to win these games. There's no more, you know. They don't have another opportunity to give away games, and so they made sure to he made sure to take advantage of that, I thought. And to Willie's point, I mean, he went for it in the second half. And I thought another thing, Gilbert, outside of, there wasn't a lot from Matthew Stafford. He was 14 of 24 for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I thought they used the play action really well in this game to kind of set up, especially in the second half. I thought that was really good. So Stafford used a play action in the second on half of his dropback. So he used play action. I thought that was really good, which was the highest usage since 2006. And so he was 7 of 12 for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns on play action in this game. And I thought that was a great adjustment by McVay, especially because they kept putting pressure on that offensive line, and so that kind of helped them get this victory, I thought.
Yeah, part of me wants to give, Sean McVay credit for a bounce back coaching performance, and everything you said is on point, Victor. But I can't get over the first quarter, and
Yeah.
little sluggish there. But hey, good adjustments. The best coaches make adjustments in the second half. And then to Willie Bowen's credit, on being aggressive, man, I was pulling out my hair watching the Cardinals and the Vikings. Like the Cardinals were playing not to lose. That was so conservative. Come on, stop being a coward and go for it, or go for the final punch there. And that's why they lost there. That 1 point loss to the Vikings there. I get it. Minnesota is not New Orleans, but when you're in the middle of a playoff race, when you're in the middle of a NFC West title race, just get a victory. It doesn't matter if you get style points or not. Come out with the victory, and to be aggressive. Sometimes that's the way you get rewarded in football, being aggressive, making the adjustments. But Victor, again, we can't figure out this team quite well. It has not been a pretty season by any means. They don't have consistency offensively, and they have some glaring weaknesses defensively. Yeah, Derek Carr didn't really pick them apart, down the field, but they were moving the ball pretty well there. Alvin Kamara had a good game. But the one thing I keep taking away, and a lot of the narrative for the Rams is like, well, they're gonna have Stafford, they have Sean McVay, they have Super Bowl pedigree, they have Cooper Kupp, they have all these experience. That's why we can't write them off. But to me, it's like they have these young playmakers that keep stepping up. That Jared Verse hit on Derek Carr, who had an open Marquez Valdez-Scantling on 4th and 3 on the 9-yard line of LA. That was big. Yeah, it wasn't a sack, it wasn't a strip sack, but he caused them to have the incompletion there. Kyren Williams having a bounce back performance with no ball security issues this time around, running the football. Sean McVay, props there. Puka Nacua getting that touchdown. So these young playmakers, we've seen it for 2 years now. The shift from the core group of the old days with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford to now Jared Verse, Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams. We'll see about Kyren Williams. People wanted him gone last week, but he had a nice performance. But the reason I keep going back to this team and finding something I want to say they can hang their hat on is young talent. Draft picks just kind of doing well and people stepping up. So yeah, you're 6-6, but you need a victory to stay in the race. And I keep going back to those young playmakers stepping up. I know the whole Demarcus Robinson thing was a little dicey, and we could talk about it later on, but he made plays too.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting him to play, but the Rams chose to play him, and honestly, he came through for them because he caught two passes. One of them was a touchdown, and he's big for them. He's that guy, especially when everyone's healthy. Puka's healthy, Cooper Kupp is healthy. Demarcus Robinson usually scores a touchdown when all three of those guys are in the lineup at the same time, and so I thought the other thing too, Gilbert, incorporating Blake Corum. He's got 33% of the snaps, 8 carries for 42 yards. I thought that was huge. And I thought it motivated Kyren Williams because after that he really responded, especially in the second half. They gave him the ball. And then one more thing, this was, I forgot to even mention this, and we're already 8 minutes into this post game show, and this is the first time Sean McVay and the Rams were shut out in the first half of a game during the regular season. It also happened in Super Bowl 53 versus the Patriots. So it tells you also, I did like the game plan. I got to give credit to the Saints because they made sure to not, give the ball to the Rams, allow them to get their offense going until the second half. And so credit to the Saints for having a possession of the ball for most of that first half, but that's just the way it's been for the Rams. And luckily they made the adjustments and they were able to win this game because they really needed this game in order to stay in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I really don't, I don't really have a pulse on this team besides they have a lot of talent. They got playmakers stepping up, but you can't get away with the mistakes you made in New Orleans when you come back home to play the Buffalo Bills. And
Yeah.
we'll see how the Buffalo Bills do tonight. Obviously, Rams fans want them to look good tonight because that means they beat down the 49ers, but you don't want that team to be rolling into SoFi Stadium. We remember that game a couple of years ago when they were defending champions, week
Right.
one. That was a very ugly game. But I'm not gonna harp on the negative too much here, because they're in the middle of a playoff race. The Cardinals lost; they took advantage of that, and they're tied now. And I know the Cardinals beat the Rams, but anything can happen in the next 5 weeks, and maybe the schedule. I think you mentioned Victor opens up a little bit at the
Yep.
Buffalo. So if maybe you could kind of withstand a loss of Buffalo, but why not go shock the world and make something happen? And like what people are pointing out here, yeah, Blake Corum getting some carries could. Like if you have a very good rushing attack, that will go a long way. You put less pressure on your offensive line. By the way, Rob Havenstein came back. They looked a little better. How about that?
Yeah.
So maybe that's your combination for your offensive line right there. Shout out to Puka Nacua for letting Alaric Jackson have the touchdown celebration.
Yeah.
He had the spike there, and he really enjoyed it. That was funny to see. But yeah, sometimes you got to win ugly there. And again, I want to give McVay a little more credit for second half adjustments, but you cannot go into halftime being held scoreless against a kind of a so-so defense, a team with a interim head coach there. But hey, it's a road game. You got to win them. They couldn't win those road games earlier in the year. But again, I just don't know what to make of this team. They're 6-6. They just feel like a mediocre team, but they have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. They have Matthew Stafford, and I'm so tired of this. And they have Super Bowl experience, and they have Sean McVay. But hey, it's working so far.
Yeah, and that's part of the roller coaster. That's the roller coaster of a season it's been for the Rams. And as you said, you got to just take the wins at this point, Gilbert. I mean, especially with the fact that they started 1-4, and then
Yeah.
now they're back at 500 again. I got to give them credit for that, because it's hard in the NFL to kind of do that. And as we've talked about, I think expectations got a hold of a lot of fans, and now we're kind of seeing. That's why I like to kind of wait and see where these teams are at, and we know what to expect now. We know what kind of a team. Now, can they, as you mentioned, this is a young team. They built this team through the draft. Their free agent signings haven't worked out, but you know what you have right now, and now you want to continue to develop that young talent, and you want to get the most out of it going forward. And so hopefully those young guys kind of start to step up. But we'll see. I did like this win, especially the way they fought back in the second half. We've seen them. That's one thing I got to give this coaching staff a lot of credit, is they made sure that these guys punch back. You don't see them. You've seen a lot of teams already, Gilbert, give up on the season, especially young teams. You know that this team is well coached because of that, and we've already seen three coaches get fired because of that. And this team continues to fight, and you can see that they're well coached and they're being well developed.
Yeah, and another one for the young players and a point for special teams. Jordan Whittington had that nice return there.
Yes.
I don't know if they scored in that one. Maybe they did, but I forget. But it was a big dynamic play to get them in good territory on the Saints territory. And one thing that kind of had mixed results about, or mixed feelings about, 0 sacks on Derek Carr, but it just showed how much respect they had for that pressure, or I guess those pass rushers, to lean
Hmm.
on Alvin Kamara, like you mentioned, Victor, and they control the time of possession. I think 32 minutes to 27 minutes. But when you look up at the final tally and they got 14 points, you'll take that any day, right? So that kind of tells you they were conservative. They were conservative football because they had respect for that pass rush instead of. They also can't really attack downfield without Chris Olave or Raheem Shaheed. Taysom Hill went out late in the game too with an injury, but you don't have a lot of playmakers besides MVS. But hey, they were definitely aware of that pressure, and they said, "Nope, no thanks. Here, let's run the football out here."
Yeah, and they kept it on him, and they kept, that's what you needed to do against Derek Carr, and they did that. Yeah, they missed. Sometimes the pressure didn't get there, and that's where the MBS touchdown and even the 2-point conversion,
Hmm.
I thought, came into play because of that, because the pressure wasn't there. But the young guys, like I said, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, as somebody pointed out earlier, that I thought I was actually, rooting for him to get into the end zone. It wasn't a fumble at the end of it, but it was really cool. You want to see, you saw Leonard Williams do that as well for the Seahawks against the Jets. So it's always cool to see the big guys get in the end zone there. But yeah, I like I said, there's a lot to kind of take away here. I think the biggest one is the fact that they win this game, and then the way they looked in the second half. And so yeah, that's been part of the winning recipe for them, is the fact that they make the adjustments in the second half. And we're starting to see too, Gilbert, a lot of the teams that they face, they're better than a lot of people thought now. Like you saw with the Eagles, they just did to the Ravens. So I mean, there's no looking bad in terms of, or saying, hey, that was a bad loss to the Eagles. They just are the better team right now, and they're on a roll.
Yeah, the Eagles are definitely in a row, and they exposed the Ravens' flaws there for a reason, because they're a Super Bowl contender. But part of you wants them to you want the Rams to play like a little closer to that level. They're not there obviously, and because you have so much talent, but that's the issue with some weaknesses defensively that they haven't fixed with the linebacker group, with the secondary. There's also issues with being inconsistent offensively. That could be part of the offensive line. But hey, you get Rob Havenstein back, and suddenly you're running the football pretty well. Blake Corum doing well too. You get Puka Nacua involved. What did Cooper Cup do, by the way? 'Cause I feel like,
He didn't do much.
yeah,
He didn't do much. I mean, when he was like fourth on the list down the
yeah. I was like, wait,
statistics, yeah, yeah, he didn't do much today. So yeah, I
yeah. So
mean,
like again, it shows you it's like a youth movement here, and sometimes with young teams, you're gonna have a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna look up and say, hey, you are 6-6 for a reason because you're learning on the fly. And again, next year is next year, and we're gonna find out what they decide to do for that. But for this year, hey, like again, I think I saw was it Michael that said the Bills are beatable. If you get that, you're looking pretty. That's a big changing victory for next season. If they don't, you better beat all those NFC West teams you have coming up. You better beat those terrible New York Jets too later this month in December. We're already in December, by the way. I can't believe that.
yep.
But yeah, you get the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers in the final month of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, you get the Bills, and then you turn around on a Thursday night and have to go up
Oh,
to
yeah,
Santa Clara on a Thursday night.
that's
So
tough.
yeah, that is. I mean, the next 10 days are huge for the Rams' playoff hopes, and we'll get to it as well. I know you got to go, Gilbert, but I just wanted to make sure I let people know about our pregame show or our preview for Rams Bills. You won't be joining us. You got some stuff to take care of on Wednesday, so we will have Fernando Ramirez, who does it for the Sporting Tribune. He'll join me, and we're working on a guest. I need to talk to Fernando, who will be joining us. So we'll have a guest join us live on Wednesday. So make sure you're with us. We won't have Gilbert, but he will be here the following week against the preview for the 49ers. So Gilbert, have a good rest of your week. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks, but
Yeah,
thank you for giving us a couple minutes here to kind of, I'll stay here and go through some of these comments. And I want to make sure that I get everybody on here and have a little bit more time with everybody who's
yeah,
joining us
yeah.
tonight.
First of all, be kind to Fernando. He's gonna fill in for me. He's gonna be my backup for on Wednesday night. He's gonna bring a lot of knowledge for you guys here, and hopefully brings on a guest. And yeah, enjoy the victory here, listeners and viewers of House of Horns. That's a nice victory for Rams there to win on the road. But I got to get going. We'll see how these 49ers do against the Bills. But yeah, and also have a good time, Victor, with all these comments because I like to see the live chat very lively today after a victory. But
Yeah,
take care.
it's always good on a win there. So have a good one, Gilbert, and we'll see you. Actually, we'll see you for the post game show. You will join us for
Yeah,
the
I'll
post game
keep
show.
doing the post game show for
Yeah,
Bills Rams, but I won't be able to do the preview. But I'll see
yeah.
you guys in a week.
All right, Gilbert. Have a good one. There we go. And I'll stay on here. Let me just make a couple of adjustments here to my background. And there we go. All right, guys, you have me here for the rest of the show. Keep sending your comments and we'll get to it. But I really thought the Rams played really well in the second half. I really thought that what they did in the second half with the play action, especially that's been one of my things too this season is not seeing as many um, teams on offense get under center and use the play action. I think that's one of the things that we haven't seen a lot from a lot of teams, especially the a team like the Rams who likes to use 11 personnel. I think it's great for them to do so and use it, especially against when you're getting when you're getting that much pressure on Stafford and you're allowing sacks. I thought that was a really good adjustment to have him be under center a little bit more. Also, he got what he got under center and got those sneaks in. I thought that was really good on those short yardage situations, which I think they said that they don't remember the last time. Some of the players were saying that they don't remember the last time Stafford had a quarterback sneak. So before I think last week, I think he's gotten a quarterback sneak now 2 out of the last 3 games, and he got 2 in this game. So I thought that was huge as well. But I want to get to some of these comments because I love the fact that you guys are on here, especially on a big win going on the road. I thought that was the other thing. I think part of the reason why we saw this game be in the afternoon, especially with it being in New Orleans, was the fact that you had 6 games in the morning, and so I thought that really helped. I thought that was going to help the Rams start off quickly, and it still didn't matter because the Saints had a good game plan. They wanted to run the ball. They wanted to make sure they control the clock, and they did that really well. But Delbert, as always, first comment up, he says, it's no secret the Rams must establish the run game and stick to it. O-line gets the momentum going, then we're fine. Very frustrating first half, but it's a dub, backs to the wall. And yeah, they established the run, especially in the second half, as I said, and then also getting Blake Corum. I thought that was huge. Blake Corum gave him a good boost, and it also motivated Kyren Williams. And you saw that in the second half. Kyren Williams had a really good game, and then he finally scored once again. Now he's got 2 games in a row where he's gotten a touchdown, so that's also really good to see. Willie Bowen again, great victory, horns up. And Dano says, Dan, need to run more. Everything else will fall into place. I think they need to be a little bit more balanced, as I talked about as well. I like the fact that Matthew Stafford's getting under center. I like the other thing that I really liked in terms of the offense was getting him on rollouts. You saw that catch by Tutu Atwell. I thought Tutu Atwell had a better game than Cooper Kupp. When was the last time we said that? That Cooper Kupp wasn't as good. Didn't have a good game as Tutu Atwell. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to see Tutu Atwell being involved in this offense, especially it opened up things. I thought they used him in some plays where he was stretching the field for to kind of open things up and underneath, and it really helped because he got two catches there that really moved the chains there. We also have Willie Brown. I want to see Hunter Long get a reception touchdown. We all want to see the offensive the tight ends get more involved. We finally heard Tyler Higbee is starting to practice. Hopefully he'll be back in a couple weeks, it sounds like. But he's out there practicing now. So, and his window to return has opened. He's got 21 days. I think they're going to use all 21 days for Tyler Higbee to get healthy, and we should see him. I would say that he's probably back for that 49ers game on that Thursday night. But who knows? We've seen a lot of these players come back sooner than we thought. We saw it with, Avila, and we saw it with some of the other guys. So, and Willie Bowen also says Stafford should spread the offensive plays around. I thought that he did a good job in this game, running the ball all the time. Won't get the LA Rams victories all the time, but as I said, as long as you run the ball, you get more than 20 carries, you should be good. As we've seen, I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but we've seen that be a successful recipe for the Rams this season. So we'll see. And everybody wants, I says, I want to make any tight end to make touchdowns from Dano there. So yeah, and the and to Willie Bowen's comment here, the LA Rams defense should hit harder and more against opposing running backs. I thought they were really there was that Camp Curl hit. I thought that's one of the things that I really liked about this Rams defense is the fact that they are really physical against Philadelphia. Yeah, they got overmatched because they have better talent, but I thought they were really physical. They maintained that physicality throughout that whole game, and yeah, they got out scheming that game. But I that's one thing I'll say about this defense is that they're tough and they're physical and they make sure that they're always trying to hit guys. And we hear that a lot about West Coast teams about how they're not physical enough. That's not the case with a lot of the teams now, especially the two LA teams. I thought the two LA teams have been, especially on defense, they've been really physical, whether you're talking about the Rams or the Chargers. I thought both teams have kind of changed that narrative in terms of how people perceive LA teams of being a little bit not physical, but I thought they've done a great job. Alexander H says establish the run, spread the ball, create opportunity. All the teams seem to play the Rams hard, it seems. And part of it too, Alexander, is the fact that they're facing really good teams, and that's part of the reason why it's been kind of a roller coaster season. When you play they played the Lions, like we can go down the list. They played the Eagles. They played really good teams, and they fare well. Like the teams they've needed to beat, they've done so. Like now with the Saint being the Saints, that's a good win. You want to take care of the teams that you're supposed to beat, and they did that. And so now it sets up things. Now, like I said, the next 10 days are going to be huge for this Rams team. You got to face the Bills at home, and then you travel on a Thursday night on a short week to Santa Clara. I keep trying to say San Francisco. We all know that they don't play in San Francisco; they play in Santa Clara. So, yeah, a big 10 days coming up for the Rams, and if they can go 1-1 or maybe 2-0, they things set up really well for them to make the playoffs. They're gonna need to at least to go 1-1, and as I said, um, I thought it was very important for them to go 1-1 versus the Eagles and the Bills for those two home games. So, yeah, it's crazy to say this, but they're gonna probably end up playing the two hottest teams in a span of 3 weeks in terms of the Eagles and now the Bills. If we'll see what happens in this game. I'm trying to check the score, and it's 3-0 49ers right now in the first quarter, as the first quarter is coming to an end. So yeah, you might get a Bills team on a winning streak once again here for the second time in 3 weeks. We also have Daniel said the play that upset me the most was the cornerback split, our O line on the 2-2 sweep. Avila should have cleaned his clock. And I remember this play. It stayed with me as well, Dano, because I thought Avila and Bo Limmer I thought Bo Limmer should have gone after that cornerback and blasted him in that situation. Instead, he just let him go by, and he split between those two guys, and he got that tackle on Tutu Ottawa. I just thought, hey, you got to be aggressive there, and you got to go after the cornerback there. That should, and it wasn't just the cornerback. I thought the safety made a good play on that specific play as well. But yeah, I thought Bo Limmer should have been more aggressive there. I didn't think it was on Avila. It was more on Bo Limmer, and not, he was closest to him, and then that kind of allowed him to split the two guys there and make the tackle. Um, what do we got? What else we got here? Delver says, "Hey, how about Fisk desire to get in the end zone?" As we talked about, I was just rooting for Fisk to get into the end zone. I loved it, only to have it called incomplete pass. Young Bucks on defense are still growing. Yeah, I thought that was a great play by Fisk. And shout out to the refs there. That's one of the new things that I've liked about the refereeing in terms of let the play finish up and then go back and watch it instead of calling it dead there. Imagine if it was a fumble and you call it dead and then the ball is recovered. That's where the possession starts for the Rams if it had been called a fumble. So I thought that's one of the new things that I've really liked about the refereeing in terms of, hey, if there's a possibility of a turnover there, just allow the play to continue on and we'll see what happens. So yeah, and as Dano said, yeah, so close of being a fumble. Hopefully the rookies only get better, and I feel like they will. I mean, I thought one of the things that I was a little afraid of with this rookie class, what they were going to hit a wall. I think the only one that we've kind of seen hit a wall has been Joshua Carty, and especially now that these games become really important for the Rams, it's going to be hard for them to trust Cardi. He's going to have to eventually he's going to get a chance again to come up huge for this team and win a game, and he's got to be ready. Unfortunately, right now, because of how much they need these wins, I understand why McVay is being more aggressive, and I really I thought that was the right call to go for it there. They didn't get they missed on a fourth down play, but it didn't cost him, and so I like the him being aggressive there. So uh I'm happy about this win, and honestly we'll see what happens. Delver says the Bills did score a touchdown there, so now it's 7-3. So we're all watching this game as we go. But and Happy Gilmer says Rams still not consistent, and that's the case. They have not been consistent. We still haven't seen this team. Then that's part of the problem is we haven't seen this team put together a fourth quarter game. Until they do, we're gonna continue to not believe in this team. You know, like they are a true playoff contender, and so we'll see what happens going forward. But we want that's part of the thing that we've been asking is we need to see this team put it together for four quarters, and if they do, they can beat teams like the Bills coming up and the 49ers in a couple of weeks as well. But they need to put it together for fourth quarters for us to believe in this team that they can make a playoff run like we thought they could last season. Mike Armenta says Rams must learn how to stop the run, and I think that's part of it too, Michael, is the fact that you put a lot of pressure with these young guys, and a lot of them are not run stoppers. You know, you have a Bobby Brown. That's the reason Bobby Brown starts these games is because you want a big guy in there. The problem is that as good as Braden Fisk has been in terms of uh as a pass rusher, his bugaboo is the fact that he's not a great run defender. And part of it is because he's a really good pass rusher, but that's part of being a rookie. He'll get better at that, and that'll be part of it. And also when you play a 3-4 kind of a defense that they play, it's easier to kind of run and find lanes when you're a offensive team on this against this Rams team. But they've been better. The pressure is there, so and they. I've really enjoyed watching Chris Shula's maturation with this team, especially the way he's been able to call this defense. And yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of complaints outside of Darius Williams getting beat a couple of times. We've seen that be a problem for this Rams team. So as long as they continue to improve, I think that'll be something good. Daniel Calderon says, actually, Michael says, glad the Cardinals lost. That was a big defeat there for the Cardinals. It opens the door and it keeps the Rams alive in this as they try to win the division. They're only a game back of Seattle now. Seattle has won 3 in a row. It looks like they found their mojo defensively. Um, but one of the things is if they can win some games here, the Rams, they'll be able to face the Seahawks at home, and we've seen how well the Rams have done against the Seahawks lately. And so it sets up well for them. And yeah, like Alexander H says, hope the Rams show up for all four quarters next week. The 4 and out, slow it down and wears down the defense. And I think that's going to be a good recipe when we get into the preview next week for that Bills game, because the way that the Bills have been doing it right now is that Josh Allen is not, giving the ball away anymore. And so you're gonna have to play well and do it on all sides of the ball here. You got to play on offense, defense, and special teams really well against to beat a team like the Bills. So we will see what happens there. I just want to get some guys here. James Wheelock, who really appreciate you being on here as well. It's great though to be playing meaningful football in December, and that's part of it, man. That's all you want this time of year, is to be able to play well. And thanks for the shout out, Del Dever says Victor flying solo and doing great. Puros Cuernos Vamos Rams. Yes, I can do this. I got a little bit of experience last season with Gilbert having to go and cover some of the stuff for SI. So and he does a great job, and I'm glad to hop on here and thank you guys. Honestly, you guys are what makes this show, and I love having the feedback, having these conversations with you guys, and it's good to do it when the Rams win. I know a lot of people were frustrated after that Eagles loss last week, but now you get to see how well this team can do, especially in the second half, and the adjustments that Sean McVay has made have really helped. Hopefully, they can take that second half momentum and take it to and start the game off against the Bills. But we will see that. I just want to get a couple more comments on here. Alexander H says, "Yeah, rooting for the Seahawks 2 weeks, and now the Cards next week." Hey, man, that's the way it works, especially in the division with how things go. you turn your attention from one team to the other. It's like, okay, now it's time to root against the Seahawks and the Cardinals, and so that's the way it's going to be going forward, especially as the division, it is on the line here, and the Rams are only one game behind now. So it's been a roller coaster of a season, but as James Wheelock said, hey, at least they're playing meaningful football in December, and got 5 weeks to go here. Let's see if the Rams can make a run just like we saw last season. We saw them after the bye week last season go on a run here. They had a bye week earlier in the season, but hey, finish strong, especially with a lot of those young guys. So um and Willie Bowen says, "I'm glad, as we talked about earlier, they didn't sell for the field goals." So, and Daniel Calderon, good to see you once again. What up, y'all? Hey, good to hear from you. And he wants to see more of Quorum. I thought that I think that was the most we saw of Quorum. He got 33% of the snaps in this game. So, with that, I'm going to end the show here, and I'm going to say, hey, it was a great win for the Rams. They're 6-6 now. Things are now the next 10 days, as I said, are critical for this team and what they do. They need to go either 1-1, 2-0. The worst they have to go is 1-1 here against the Bills and the 49ers the next 10 days. Take care of business against the Bills at home, and then whatever happens against the 49ers, on a short week, then you either take the loss or you feel better about going 2-0 against the 49ers, but you have to take care of business against at home. Win one of these games, as I said, I thought was critical. Either the Eagles or the Bills, you have to win one of these games. And as we said, if they can finally play a good fourth quarter of games, total of fourth quarters there against the Bills, they can win this game, especially if the Bills continue to beat up on the 49ers as they're doing so far right now in a what looks like a great football game in December with all the snow falling. So yeah, we'll see you guys. As I said, a reminder once again before I leave, uh, Gilbert will not be on with us on Wednesday. It'll be Fernando Ramirez who will be joining me on Wednesday to preview that Bills matchup, and we will have a special guest. Hopefully, I'll need to talk to Fernando because he knows the person that I want to get on here and talk some Rams football and preview the matchup with the Bills. So we'll see you on Wednesday around 6:30 Pacific, right around that time to preview the matchup with the Bills. But have a good night. Enjoy this week. Victory Sunday is always good. Enjoy this week for the rest of the week, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Pues ya nos vamos. Vámonos.